Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Reason and Revelation podcast with Chris and Ammon Howse. Today, we're going to be offering you a clear and concise method for how to find righteous women to build strong marriages in God and what those steps look like. So, by the end of this, you should have a rudimentary idea of what Christian dating should look like and how to effectively do that and to find your soulmate. It's something that can be a sore topic for some, that they feel like there isn't a woman out there for them and that they're searching in vain. And I can't promise that listening to this and acting on this, you'll find the right woman a week or a month after this. Maybe you will. I hope you do. But we're going to be talking about things that will optimize and help you to get there the quickest way possible and the most effective way possible, because we know that the things that are the best in this life take the most amount of work. This isn't going to be something that's given to you. So
true.
just wanted to start off the discussion today with what I consider the most important piece of dating advice for any strong Christian male that wants to find a righteous woman and build a good marriage. So if you want to come with me to Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21 through 32. So it starts off saying, submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. And this is something we're going to come back to a lot during this episode, that the husband is the head of the household, right? And he's meant to lead. And this is something that is demonized in today's world as the patriarchy, which I'll let you know that that's been the system here on earth and the system prescribed by God for thousands of years. And we're trying to throw it all up, and we're going to talk about some of the fruits of that bad decision throughout this episode. But right there in clear English is the husband is supposed to be the head of the household, even as Christ is the head of the church. And it goes on to say, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. And then here's a little challenge to the husbands, that husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church. We are members of his body, of his flesh, of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. But this is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. So I think in those scriptures, you can find a lot of the points that we're going to talk about today. When I was going through and trying to think of the best tips and the best tricks for finding a good woman and maintaining a good relationship, I kept finding it goes right back to that little section there at the end of Ephesians chapter 5. But Chris, was there anything that resonated with you from there?
There's so much. We could have like 30 episodes on this, and maybe we will. So stay tuned. I was single for quite a while as an adult. I got married at 31. So Ammon and I are not that far apart. And when we got married, I got married in September last year. Ammon got married in March of this year. But the thing is, we're 8.5 years apart. And so in my single life, there was a lot that I had to ponder and uh, consider on the right way to approach dating. And um, so I could go on a lot, but what is there any direction you would like to go in particular?
I think I want to start with the being the leader. That you are kind of in this hierarchy of the chain of command. Uh, um, that God is where all truth and all goodness comes from, and through His church, He ordains the head of the household to be the father, right? But I know there are a lot of guys that one of the most common things I hear is that they don't feel like they're ready to be that. That they kind of wish a girl would come and ask them out, and uh, why do I got to pay on dates? And that's obviously a little offspring of this idea that you should be a leader in your relationships with your uh, women that you court. But I think that's what I wanted to start off with was um, this idea of male leadership. And Christopher is going to be going on about this a little bit more in the next episode. But yeah, that's what I wanted to start with today.
Yeah, and I think women instinctively hear this and it's like, oh, okay, you're just trying to talk about how men are above us, and men are like, yeah, like I'm supposed to be the leader. But I think it also means that men are meant to actually be leaders. They need to live worthy of that. They need to learn how to lead, like you're talking about. They need to be decisive people. They need to put the work in to have the experience to be able to lead a woman. Like if a woman has just as much experience as a male, how is he supposed to lead her? And that's particularly true when it comes to spiritual things. I think that's the main meaning behind this phrase, that a man is supposed to be a spiritual leader in the home. He's supposed to like
Absolutely.
provide for the spirituality, make sure that his family is on the right track spiritually. Um, that is his most important responsibility. I think protecting and providing are essential. And you could debate, I guess, what's most important, but
Mhm.
making sure that your family is saved in the kingdom of God, I think, is, in my view, the most important thing, and it's something neglected by many men.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. There's this humorous clip that I saw a little while back of Anthony Mackie, um, and he's the for those who don't know, he's the actor for the what's his name? He's the dude with the wings in the Marvel movies. It's just showing. Oh, he's the Falcon. Why am I stupid? Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
he's the Falcon, right? And so he was doing this interview with his wife one time, and just like you were saying, Chris, sometimes women have this instinctive like eye rolling, and then men have this like anxiety that comes up when they're told you're supposed to be the head of the household, the leader, right? And in it, he says it gets brought up, and his wife is like, "Oh, I don't agree with that." And he says, "Well, if I asked you to make a sandwich, would you go do it?" And she's like, "I don't know. Like, you should just get up and make your own dang sandwich, right?" And he's like, "Well, if you start getting harassed at the bar by some dude, what do you expect me to go do?" And she's like, "You gotta go beat him up." He's like, "Exactly. And if you want like something to be built, are you gonna build it?" And she's like, "No, that's your job." Okay. What if we have any number of somethings happen? What do you expect to be done? And she's like, well, I'd expect you to come and help me do it. And he's like, and all I ask for in place is that you let me be the leader, right? You go make me the sandwich. And she's like, then I would happily do it for that, right? And it's kind of a humorous little jibe, I think, at the idea of this is that if um, women didn't want a leader, And especially if you're looking for the good righteous ones, the ones that will read the Bible, that love God, that are active Christian followers, they want what is being promised here, a husband who will take everything to the Lord and will try to watch over not only his kids but his wife's salvation. He'll look over their physical, mental, emotional well-being, and he'll be that foundation for them. The same way that Christ is the rock for us, your husband and you should be the rock for the people around you, a steady, unmovable force. They say that's one of the most looked after attributes of good leaders is that they're unmoving. They have certain things that they'll never squibble on, that they um, are steadfast in.
We could probably debate whether I think you're right. Men and women both have roles and they both have things that they kind of expect from each other. Whether like one of the roles of the woman is like to make sandwiches, that's probably
Right.
up for debate, but I think it's a good point. And I also agree with what you're saying that women are looking for a leader. I think even most non-religious women want a leader, because they want a man to look up to, not a boy that they have to take care of, and that means that the man has done the work to uh, to know how to lead and plan dates and know what a woman wants before she says it, because the truth is that like women don't always know what they want and they don't always want to have to tell you what they want. And so you need to have enough experience and learn enough about the girl that you're with to take care of her needs so she doesn't have to always clearly tell you what to do.
No, definitely. And that was going to lead into the next thing, because sometimes people uh, or guys will have this question to me about like uh, it just seems like it's so much all the time. And like a lot of things in life, I feel like we make things bigger and grander than they really have to be. And that's one of the things I found in marriage. Obviously, I'm a newlywed. So, as Chris said, I got married in March. So, you don't have to give me too much credence there. But in dating, I think one of the biggest things that helped me to be that man for the girl I was courting at the time, that it's not one big thing that you're doing, but it's a bunch of small acts all put together. That it's the showing them you care. You write them a little note. It's the asking them how they're doing and following up with maybe a scripture or a quote that could help them. It's the um, opening the car door for them. I think that's a lot more of what makes a strong, loving marriage versus doing what you feel like you're expected to. Okay, yeah, I should take her out for a date and I should spend money on her. Like doing the things that are um that can almost seem mundane in the big long run of things. And that goes back to this verse where it says that you should love your wives even as your own body. That we all want that in the long run, that we want someone to look after us and to do all the little things, not just the things that we think are the most important. I had this list of questions that I felt like, or no, that just everyday guys ask. And this was an interesting one that I thought you might have a opinion on, Chris. Um, what if I'm attracted to her character but not strongly physically? Should I still pursue?
I would not, I would say no. Um,
Exactly.
I, I mean, I think uh, she doesn't need to be a 10 out of 10. I think it's
hmm
actually better if she's not, maybe. But you need to be very attracted to her still.
hmm Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah. I have a lot of guys. that ask me that. They're like, she's not the best looking, but like she has like the same beliefs as me, and like you should be over the moon for her in every way. Um, and not only is it very important for her to have like those matching beliefs, and not like matching you in the small things like you like pineapple and pizza, but she should want to raise kids the same way you do. She should want to have the same spending as you do. Like there's this one friend of mine that got married to a girl that's a way bigger spender than he is, and he's just drowning in the dead of it. And she's a good person, but like she wants to go on flights and vacations 3 or 4 months. Every 3 or 4 months, she wants to go somewhere big and extravagant. And he didn't know that beforehand. And that's something they should have talked about and decided, right? Um, so it's like all those things where it's like they should be a girl that you could remain attracted to, not only for physicality, but like your children will look like this, you know? That's one of the cool blessings and miracles of having offspring is that they'll have a little bit of you and a little bit of her. Um, so just to recap on the things we've talked about so far is that um, when you're dating, you want to become the man that you think could be a good husband and a father.
I just think that you need to do the spiritual work, um,
Mm,
to not only have the testimony, but to know what your family's spiritual needs are. You know, like you need to know where your wife is at spiritually and how to help her when she needs it. You know, just like we
mhm,
need help when we might be lacking in certain ways. And I hope that you find a wife who is honest with you and can help you when you're spiritually struggling. But I think that the mantle falls on the man, as in not that he's special, but that he's responsible. You know, so if the family is failing spiritually, more of the fault lies with the man than with the woman. You know, it's his
mhm,
failing more than it's her failing. So he needs to show up. I also tend to think of like leadership in the household as more of like an executive producer role. I don't know how familiar with their roles you are, Ammon, but as far as I understand it, and my understanding could be shaky, like, you know how George Lucas is the executive
mhm,
producer over like the Clone Wars and every part of Star Wars, like that doesn't mean that he made everything himself. He might not have even made
mhm,
some of the Clone Wars episodes, but he did put his stamp of approval on it. You know, he signed off on everything that went out the door, and I think that's
mhm,
something men are supposed to do. And I think women should too, instead of it being like we're not talking about a dictatorship here. We're talking about you just make sure that important decisions that happen in the house, you uh, you sign off on. You are you are sure that they are aligned with God's will. They're not
mhm,
violating any like big commandments. And if they are, you're not ruling with an iron fist and saying this cannot happen. Like you're talking with your wife, you're talking with your kids, you're reasoning with them. And occasionally you lay down the iron fist with your kids. But with your wife, you're going to use more persuasion and long
yeah.
suffering. So,
Bear the rod, spoil the child, right? Um,
yeah.
I like that point quite a bit. The idea that it's kind of on you for not having these conversations with your wife before you marry her. And that's one of the beautiful things about dating is you can go through like the ultimate screening and filtering process that uh you should see all those things that you want in a girl. And if you don't know what you want yet, you're not ready to be married. Like
Yeah.
pause this right now, go write a checklist of what you do and don't want in a wife. And little side tangent, but for your don't, I would put this as your top one. Don't get with a girl who stirs up drama if she's bored. It'll destroy your relationship. You can hear the fruits of it. You can see it and how they live. If they change their life trajectory every couple of months, Like, oh, I was going to be an estheticianist, but then I switched over to being like an influencer, and then I switched over to working at this place, and now I'm a fashion model. Like, okay, so you're kind of bouncing around a lot of different ways. Or if you seem like you can never just be peaceful around her, something is always happening, whether it's like a coworker or one of her family members. Like if it's always this drama and strife, that's what your marriage will be like. And I think that's why you can see historic amounts of divorce in this country is because people aren't vetting who they're dating. They don't even know who they're getting married to. They just like, I find them attractive, or I don't know, they were the only ones I thought I could get, and I settled. Um, and then there's people that get get married when you already knew it was doomed to fail. You know, either they're a narcissist, or you were, or you both like had this idea of what you wanted and then didn't bother to talk to the other person about it at all. Um,
Yeah. One thing I thought you were going to say is when she indulges in gossip too much, and I think that's part of what you were saying, because it's not just negativity and putting other people down, which is bad by itself, but it also means she is inclined to do it about you. When you're not around, she might be talking to her friends and family about what she's not happy with you. And I think that is actually a hard rule you should have in marriage, is that you don't talk about the other person or your problems with other people. It's something that you two only do, because what happens is, and I had this with an ex-girlfriend, they um the friends and family are only getting the negative stories. They're not hearing the 9 out of 10 like nice things that you're doing for her. Like, she's not like reporting like every single good thing you do. Like, she's
mhm,
bringing something up when there's something to talk about. It's just like the news, right? Like, the news doesn't talk about all of the good things happening in society. They talk about the serial killing. And so over time, the family and friends they're just they've only heard the negatives, and they're like, oh my gosh, like Chris must be so bad, because it's
yes.
just ridiculous everything I'm hearing. And so you really should have a hard line and not talk about your relationship struggles with other people.
Isaiah talks about that as the babbling and gaggling, I think, of women. um, and I don't think it's an exclusively woman like trait, but it is more common. That's how they can get back, is by venting, is the euphemism we have for it now in our culture. Um, but they'll get back at you by talking to other people with the bad laundry and not share the good stuff. And that's not going to stop when you get married. So, yeah, very good point, Chris. I like that a lot. And that goes back to what that verse said, where the wife should reverence the husband, right? She should have a respect for you. And um, maybe this could be a hot take, Chris, but what do you think of marriage therapists?
I'm not inclined towards it. I I think it's much better to resolve it yourself. I mean, I not to say that there's not good marriage therapists out there, and that they could actually be
Mhm.
helpful for some people. But a lot of the time, I think it operates as an easy solution. Just like all therapy. Like, it's more tempting to have somebody else solve your problems instead of you doing the hard mental work to think about how to solve your own. And as far as myself, I think me and my wife know way more about each other and about our relationship, so we can give a lot
Exactly.
more informed ideas about how to solve it. And we also believe we have the Holy Ghost and God that we can pray to help us with solving our problems. So I would
Hmm.
turn to, everything else first, before that.
Yeah. Like reading the scriptures together. Or I don't know, going to your local ecclesiastical figure, and like, because obviously having a third party hear you out can always be helpful, but first and foremost, no one's going to know more about each other than you do besides God. It's like, okay, go and do that then. But I think it's hard to go back to her viewing you as a respectable leader when it's clear that, oh, this wouldn't have worked unless we got this easy way out, like you said, Chris, from someone else. And this is something important that I don't think you have to put on a facade in dating, but you should try to be strong for them. You should always like I've never like you see this more and more as a phenomenon in the world today, but a lot of people say my family treats me worse than my friends do. Like I'm tighter
Yeah.
with my friends than with my family. And that's because hey, they're your family. They're always going to be there for you. They're supposed to be there for you. And so you can give them the short end of the stick all day, but you'll give your best face to your friends. And that extends to usually your girlfriend or your wife because you're around them the most. You're like, "Oh, I don't have to try as hard." And dating and marriage, that's one of the great benefits of it is that you have someone to fight for, someone to die for. You'll hear people exaggerate this in love songs so much. I would take a grenade,
I
Bruno
love
Mars going off. How many women has he been with, right?
Right, true.
How many did he take a grenade for? How many did he put his hand on the blade for? Weird lyric, by the way. But
How many was he even faithful to, you know?
right. I know. And it's like if you're not willing to die for something or fight for it, you really didn't care too much about it in the first place. And with um this woman that should be your core, your center of everything, even if she doesn't turn out to be that, you're just dating and you'll find out if she's the one or not based on, I hope, these guidelines we've been talking about today. But you should be wanting to do your best for them all the time. And I think by going to this marriage therapist, or I don't know, there's some guys who are like, I cry in front of my wife all the time, so I can be totally vulnerable and open with her. Christopher, I love your face. Um, it, how can she take you seriously after that? How could she look at you and be like, this is the leader, the strong person that'll defend me and my family? And like,
Yeah.
obviously, there are going to be moments where you can cry and you can be yourself and you're still being your best, but you got to put your best foot forward. It's those little things where you got to show up consistently. And the great experiment from marriage is seeing the person you'll become by having the best person in the world there to not only love you, but correct you. And I think in this whole little thought experiment that you and I are doing, Chris, we've kind of illustrated this point about how getting married is kind of like having, and if you do it right, it's like having not only God in your relationship, but having a little instrument he gave to you to help edify and they call it like smoothing like your stone out, like that you're kind
Mhm.
of you've got rough edges and when you're married, it smooths them out. In marriage, you can have this amazing instrument if you choose wisely and in God's direction to turn you into the person that you've always wanted to be. You don't have to just watch a movie and be like, oh, Captain America is so cool, or Maximus Decimus Meridius from Gladiator is so cool. It's like you get there and you become the people that you want to be step by step. And that person, your wife, can be the person to help get you there. And when you look at dating from that perspective, is this the person that can help me to become the person I want to be? And can I help them? Your dating will go much more effectively.
Yeah. There's so many things to go off of from what you're talking about. Um, but uh, to highlight one, yeah, I think it's not intuitive, but you should do what you're saying. You should look for a woman not only that you're attracted to, that is good company, that you share values with, but that you believe will bring you closer to God over time. She has the spiritual knowledge and the honesty and the care for you to be open with you in that way. And that um highlights how you need to be worthy of a woman like that. You need to be
Hmm.
open to correction from a woman like that. And you also need the Spirit to help you find a girl like that, because on your own, there's no way you can find the best person for you long term spiritually. Only God knows the girl that will help you during your midlife crisis in your 50s. Like you depend on him to see down the road for you, to see who's going to be beneficial. I mean, I've heard of friends who married a woman because, they were super attracted to her, and she's a member of the church. And at the time, she was a stronger member of the church than they were. But she actually left the church, and they weren't prepared to be the spiritual leader in their home. And so when she left, like they didn't know how to like convince her to stay. They didn't have that understanding of the gospel doctrine. And are you ready for those wrenches? Are you ready to stay true even if your wife isn't? Are you ready to help your wife come back if she's leaving and doesn't really want your help? Or you know, to avoid that, like you're saying, you got to vet your wife well enough to be almost certain she would never leave the church, or leave her testimony in Christ. So.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. Of you need to be worthy of these good things that you want, and I think this might be a little good addition to what we're talking about here as a little plug-in against immorality that seems to be quite pervasive within the male community at large in the United States about uh, promiscuity and pornography and all these very bad p words you could call them. Uh, what would you say about that, Chris?
What specifically?
Like men being sleeping with their or living with their girlfriends or getting into pornography and thinking that's okay because you're not actually doing anything with anyone, and how that hinders your um, ability to find a good woman.
Yeah. Well, you, if you want to find the one, you know, well, you want to find a really righteous woman. First of all, if you're not being sexually pure, why would a righteous woman be attracted to you? Um,
Hmm.
Second, if you're not pure, how are you going to have God guide you to the right girl? And, maybe, I don't know how many women do you think are a good fit for you in life, but let's say, there's 30 women in the world, which is a really high number that you could be really compatible with. Like there's 8.5 billion people in the world. So who's to say you're ever going to run into them, let alone recognize them? So you need God to guide you to that woman and to recognize her and to attract her. And if you're mired in sexual sin, you're not even going to be confident in yourself, um, let alone capable and inspired. And so you could actually be with the right woman and not even know it. And you might even lose her, like wouldn't that be the worst thing is that you run into the woman you should have married, but you weren't ready for her. And so she, um, left to find a guy who has been living righteously the way that she has. Like she deserves that. She deserves a guy doing as much as she is doing. And so you have no idea when you're going to run into the woman that's the right one for you. So you ought to be ready or doing whatever
Yeah,
it takes to get ready.
right. Thomas Monson, he has a quote where he says that when the test comes, the time for preparation is over, and
Mm.
that would be a horrible thing to learn in the next life when the all the books of knowledge are unveiled, as the scriptures say to us, that God had a woman prepared for you, but you weren't ready to seize her. You weren't the person that she deserved at that time, and so you weren't able to notice her. You weren't bold enough to win her over. There's more truth to the the faint heart never won the fair lady. Um, and that would be a huge regret, that you weren't like when I was a kid, I would pray that my wife was having a good day today. I had no idea who she was, but I knew God knew. And that would be a horribly sad thing to find out is that the woman God had prepared for me, I wasn't prepared for. And it might sadly be true in some cases. And thankfully there are more than one woman that we can be compatible to marry with. That's why I said soulmate kind of tongue in cheek earlier. I think there are more than one that you could be compatible with and build a great and amazing life with, but there's not a lot. And with that in mind about seizing and being bold for the woman that you want to marry and see yourself with, there's a very important perspective that you should have when you're looking for the girl. And if you decide to make the life changing decision of marrying her, um, that this isn't just till death do you part, but that it's for time and all eternity. That we believe through the keys given to to Peter, mentioned in um, I think it's Matthew 16:19, where Jesus Christ promises to Peter that he will make him, or no, that upon the rock of revelation, he will build his kingdom. He'll build his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And he'll give Peter the key to seal on earth and on heaven. So whatever he binds here in earth will be maintained in heaven. And this is something that we believe, Chris and I, as the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but that marriage isn't just something that you're going to have for this life, but it'll be forever. So you really have to pick the woman you want to be with, not only smartly and with all the wisdom and knowledge but what with divine knowledge from your Father in heaven. And that includes the most strenuous courting and filtering process you can think of. And that's why I like to tell people when they're talking about which church to join or whether I should be married. I just ask them, how much do you love your woman? And depending on that answer, you'll want to give her the best life you can. And that best life will always be through these things that we talked about.
And that also brings up the importance of knowing that you are in the right church. And talking about male leadership and being a spiritual leader in your home, like in order to be that leader, you need to be well informed on spiritual things. And unfortunately, a lot of men aren't doing nearly enough. And so if you want to be sealed to your wife for all time and eternity, uh, only our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, really offers that and says that the authority to seal you to your wife has been restored on earth. Any other church just says, till death do you part. And so you'd want to put in the work to understand whether our church is true or not. And if it is, you might want to look into joining it so that there's um, the priesthood authority available to you to be sealed to your wife. Unless you don't really love your wife that much, and then you probably don't want to do that.
Right? Um, yeah, so I'll just close out this episode. Thank you, Chris, for sharing that. But I hope that something we said to you was helpful and constructive. If you have any questions that you'd like us to go over for another episode, just leave it in the comments and we'll try to go over it. But I just want to promise you all that this will be the most worthwhile endeavor you can ever do in this lifetime. That um, mainstream media will tell you that marriage is stupid and you need to do these um, prenups, and that marriage is a losing cause, that over 50 to 60%, I've heard 70%, people just throw out numbers now.
Yeah.
They do all these things to just make you feel like your dream is unachievable, that you can't have a perfect feminine woman that reveres and respects you and that you cherish. And kids, I heard a stat from The View. This,
Oh
um,
gosh.
I know, yeah, but they said that it costs 400,000 for each child you want to have, and that only, I think it was like 2% of Americans can have it. And don't ever listen to that. Don't ever believe that. Your dream and the most happy life you can ever imagine is within grasp. God has always left you a path to being the most happy you can be. And that'll eventually be eternal salvation with him, but it'll also be hopefully with a woman that you love and cherish, children that you get to rear up and raise in a righteous and wholesome household. And that is absolutely still something you can do today. It won't be easy, and it'll probably be one of the hardest endeavors, but it is worthwhile. And it all starts with dating smartly, effectively, and righteously. So remember these things to be the leader that your wife deserves, that you should strive to be worthy and chaste and pure. If you want to be attractive to these women, that you should do the little things, show up in all the moments, and don't ever take her for granted. Like try and put your best foot forward in every situation. Was there one more thing that you mentioned, Chris, as a
Yeah, don't ever trust the view.
you heard it here first. Yeah, that'll be it for us today. Thank you all for listening in, and God bless.